So here's what we'll do this morning. Everybody's going to get up and scream and yell at each other and call each other names and tell everybody how angry and afraid and betrayed they feel. Yeah? Not. Okay, now we're not going to do that today. All right, so this is a sacred, safe place. And so what we try to do when we come into a sacred, safe place is the kinds of emotions that we're feeling, such as anger, fear, hatred, betrayal, and so forth. We try to really dial that down to a minimum. And whatever we're doing out there with friends, family, Facebook friends, ex-family, I might add, right? We're just not going to do it here. Now, in a couple weeks, if people really want to, we can have an evening where we can talk about the election and how it happened and why it happened and what it means and what to do next. But not today. A few reasons. One is it's Shabbat morning, and I think people here are really after something else. Number two, I think for many people, their feelings are just way too raw, they're way too upset, they're way too angry, feeling way too defensive or aggressive, and it's just not going to go well for any of us. If anybody wants to know my brief take, I'll share with you that I agree with the president, I agree with Hillary Clinton. Okay? This is my nature, my politics, it's the way I understand the political process is calm down, move forward. If it's broken, let's try to fix it. If you think it's right, defend it. But resorting to rioting and destroying of public property and private property and so forth, it doesn't help the country move forward. Now, there are many people that say, well, I am angry and I have a right to be angry, I have to protest. Absolutely, this is America, do whatever you want. But if you want to know my basic approach, my approach is calm down, think. If you want to fix something, fix it. You want to understand something, try to understand it. You want to justify something, justify it. But without, this is what the Jewish tradition says, without anger or expressed anger, without name-calling, without vituperation, without insulting people. That's what the Jewish tradition says. That's just my private opinion. That's what the Jewish tradition says. All right, so I hope that our day together here, the Shabbos together here, if you go outside and have discussions, you'll remember that our Jewish tradition says we should not call each other names, we should not insult each other, we should not accuse each other, we should not blame each other. In fact, I've shared many times that the rabbinic model of dispute is listen to what the other person has to say and be able to repeat it to their satisfaction. Then you say what you have to say, and they have to repeat what you just said to your satisfaction. Is anything left to be said? Go ahead and say it, but with the idea of enlightening, informing, and not accusing, blaming, and distancing. Now, I'm taking this from the model of Talmudic discourse. And the Talmud is very, very clear on how we ought to engage in this kind of discourse. So I'll say that at the beginning. And again, I hope we all, no matter how strong you're feeling, when you go outside and so forth to each other, let's help create a sacred community. I will say one thing. I phoned in on Larry Mantle's show the other morning where they had a show on Monday morning and said, for anybody who went to a service or led a service, what's your approach? And so here's one thing I said on air. I said, the way that people come to their political convictions is something deeply private and oftentimes has a deep connection with the state of their soul, how they see the world, what they hope for, what they fear, their wounds, their dreams. Now, this is across the 120 million people who voted. I think it's safe to say that all of them who voted, it's a function of their inner lives, how they see the world, how they want the world to be. And therefore, when we talk about this, I try to remind myself that at some level, and again, I'm saying this as a religious person, we're dealing with the souls of other people. Now, if the way that a person has come to a conclusion that you don't like, our tradition says, respect their soul. They're created in the image of God, and even if a person may have come to the wrong decision, what we don't do is deface the image of God with our language and our behavior. They are a child of God. They're created in the image of God. Now, that's what our tradition says. This is our tradition's guidance. I'm not saying this is what other people should do. I'm not saying anybody should do or don't do anything. I'm not recommending anybody do or not do anything. Aside from in this room, I will share with you what the Jewish tradition says. I think that's my job.
Ay, ay, ay.